We often get questions about the timing of the U.S. admission process. So let's discuss questions of when you should apply, when you will get your decisions, when you will begin your studies. When it comes to the timing of the U.S. admission process, there are several common misconceptions: that the process can be done quickly, that students can take their time and apply whenever they want, that secondary school and exams must be finished before you can apply, that the timing is always the same for every U.S. school, and that the admission calendar doesn't really have an end. The reality is that the U.S. admission process takes time, months, even years. The reality is that the admission calendar and the actual calendar overlap in some curious ways. The reality is that by May 1st of each year, the long process is really finished. Knowing when things happen and understanding the admission calendar is important to your success. Later in this course, we will discuss the timing of each piece of the application. But for now, let's discuss the timing of the overall admission process. All U.S. colleges and universities offer admission for the fall academic session. So as you go through this course, keep in mind that everything is discussed from the perspective of applying for fall admission. The fall term typically begins in August, which can be confusing since August is really considered to be the summer here in the US, which is potentially a different season in your home country. Anyway, let's work backwards from August. To begin your studies in August, you have to apply many months earlier. We will discuss application deadlines in more detail later in the course, including explanations of early admission and regular admission. But here, we are going to focus on the timing for regular decision. Fall application deadlines can arrive as early as November. That is a full 9 months before you actually begin your studies. Not all application deadlines are that early, but most will arrive between December and February. Still, several months before you start your studies. This usually sparks the question, but I'll still be in school at that point. The university won't have all of my information, like final grades and exam scores. You are right. Most students apply to U.S. colleges and universities when they are still completing their final year of secondary school, which means that schools don't have all of your information when they review your application. For instance, in countries that have 4 years of secondary school, your application will include 3 to 3.5 years of academic information. In countries that have 3 years of secondary school, your application will have 2 to 2.5 years of academic information. In educational systems that require a final leaving exam, such as the UK system, the French system, or the Indian system, or in curricula that require exams, such as advanced placement or international baccalaureate, you will submit your application before you take those exams. At most, you could be asked to submit predicted exam scores when you apply. In the end, you will submit all of your grades and exam information, but realize that the timing of admission means that schools are evaluating you using most, but not all, of your academic information. This fact can sometimes make students, and especially parents, nervous, but there is no need to be. Remember, schools have been following this calendar for a long time. Admission counselors understand how to evaluate an application based on the information provided. You will come to understand how they can do this as you go through the course, and especially as you watch the Admission Officials interview series. So let's say you're applying in January to begin your studies in August. What happens in between? Schools release their admission decisions at all different times. Depending on the school and depending on when you apply, you might hear as early as December or as late as March. For instance, all schools in the Ivy League release their regular admission decisions on the same day in late March or early April. It can be a long, frustrating wait to receive your decision. In my opinion, the waiting is actually the hardest part of the whole process. If you are applying for financial aid, schools also release their financial aid decisions at all different times. Financial aid is often referred to as a package. You might get your financial aid package with your acceptance, or you might receive it weeks or even months later. Generally speaking, at the latest, you will have everything by early April in preparation for the big day, May 1st. May 1st is referred to as candidate's reply date, and it's the deadline for accepted students to choose the school they will attend. So to start your studies in August, you choose a school in May that you applied to many months before. Depending on your situation and depending on when you are taking this course, applying for the fall might work for you, but it also might not work for you. If you cannot complete your application in time to apply for the fall academic term, you can consider applying for the next academic term that begins in January. This academic session goes by different names. Schools on the semester calendar refer to this as the spring semester, while schools on the quarter calendar call it the winter term. What you must consider when applying for January admission is that this is not an option offered at all schools in the US. In fact, some schools that do offer January admission don't offer January admission for all majors. If your process is leading you towards January admission, make sure you do your research long before you apply. You will definitely have fewer options than you do in the fall, but you will have options. It's just a matter of identifying them. Now, I know that some students taking this course have already graduated from secondary school. If you have already graduated, you are not at a disadvantage in the application process. However, U.S. colleges and universities will want to know what you have done since graduation, and this can be important in your evaluation. The expectation is that you have somehow improved yourself since finishing secondary school. If your application today was compared to your application from before, your application today would be stronger. There is no right way to make your application stronger. Some students use the time after graduation to strengthen their English skills. Others do community service. Others work. The possibilities are endless. The important part is explaining how your time out of school has helped you grow. If you have been out of secondary school for a long time, several years or more, it is important to research school policies about your eligibility to apply. The reality is that preparing for and applying to U.S. universities takes time, potentially a lot of time. Understanding this timing, when will you begin to prepare your applications? As you continue to go through this course, keep the admission calendar in mind so that you can connect the whats, hows, and whys of the process with when.